Let's talk about shading colored pencil. Okay, so I've got a few colors here. I've got two colors that are kind of similar. They're in the same color scheme, right? So we've got this green here, and then we have kind of a more grayish green. So I'm going to choose one to start with. I'm going to start with this darker green. And what we're going to do is we're going to evenly, or smoothly, I should say, shade. What we're going to do is we're going to start by a lot of pressure. And this could also go the opposite way. Maybe you start up here by the shape and then, so we have really solid pressure here and then it kind of lightens up this way. That's fine. Wherever you want to start is good. But what we need is really solid pressure. Notice I am not going like this. That is what not to do. We're not scribbling. We're giving really solid pressure down here where we want solid color. And then up here, as I move on, I'm lightening up my pressure, but I still have solid coverage, right? So I'm not scribbling still. I'm trying to stay in those lines that we drew. And if you need to go back and kind of adjust some of the value, that's fine too. The value is that light to dark. And as I'm going up, what's making this lighter value is that I'm putting less pressure on my pencil. I'm also holding it back a little ways before up here to get that hard pressure, kind of choking up on the pencil a little bit, giving it more of the weight from my hand. And then up here, I'm loosening up on my pencil, holding it a little bit further from that color part. And as I'm loosening up, I also am starting to kind of overlap, right? So I'm going back in, making sure it's a nice even shading. You guys are going to get to practice this before you actually put it on your paper. Okay, I think that is pretty evenly shaded. There are some spots in here where it kind of looks like I've got some lines, so I might go in here and try and make it even more even. Even more even, yeah. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my other pencil that was on the other side of the green, right? So we had that dark green and the light green. So I'm going to take my lighter green, grayish green. It's almost like a blue. And I'm going to come in here with my really solid, really dark color right up against this shape. And I'm actually following the shape or the line here rather than trying to shade it up against here because that'll be more likely that I go over this line, right? So I'm kind of giving myself a little border just on the edge of that shape. And then I can start coming in and bringing this shading down a little bit. You might have to work in sections like I'm doing. I'm not going like this, right? We're not just scribbling all over the place. You can go in sections as long as when you go back, you're really smoothing things out. So I'm starting to let up on the pressure as I get closer to that other green, keeping the pressure really hard towards the top and then lightening it up towards the bottom or as I move along this shape. Eventually my colors are going to start overlapping. I want them to blend together a little bit. Notice I've got, since I did one section here and then another section here, I have this kind of a line almost that you can see. You can go back in and adjust that so that it fades into each other. I want you guys to put a lot of effort into this. Take your time. We've got plenty of time for this project. Really take your time. Again, we have that line moving in here, so I'm just going to go back in with my colored pencil and even things out. And now I have hardly any pressure on my pencil because I'm starting to get to this point where we're overlapping our colors. Ooh, cool, huh? Really light pressure here. I'm going back and forth. It's really blending it all together. Another thing you can try is holding it more on the side, so kind of like this rather than like this. And that's nice because then you get more of the side of your colored pencil. It's worth a try, especially when you're practicing. Just be careful because once you get to the edges, it's a little bit harder to tell where the tip of the pencil is. Okay, so that looks pretty well shaded to me. Maybe what I'll do is go back in and add just a tad bit more green and go over this area that we blended up. And what if this green now kind of comes up into this gray part a bit more too? So I encourage you guys to experiment with it a bit. How far can you blend the colors together? We're going to do the same thing on the other end. So for example, maybe I've got this like neon pink and this darker pink. And so whichever way you want to start, maybe I'll start up here this time. Wow, that is bright. Go super solid. And then eventually kind of coming down, loosening up. Light pressure towards the bottom.